This weekend sees the biggest matchup in the Six Nations, with France and Ireland going at it in the early game on Saturday. And we're going to see something in that game, a special weapon, almost certainly from both sides. And we're going to see it at the lineout. But this is not a secret weapon. This is the +1 lineout. France have already used it to great effect this Six Nations. They destroyed Wales, scoring the fourth and fifth try in that game off a +1 lineout. Ireland have done the same throughout their 3 games, but also at every club around the professional game you will see this. But what is the +1 lineout? What you would normally expect from a lineout is that you would have the forwards in the lineout, maybe 5 forwards, or in this case 6 forwards in the lineout. And then the receiver position will be the scrum half. So the forwards win the lineout. They either go to the ground and then pop to the 9, or they go off the top to the 9, who's still in that receiver position, who can then pass obviously out wide to the back line. In the +1, that's different. So instead of having a scrum half, you replace that scrum half with a forward. So in this case, we can see our +1. So we can count the numbers: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're missing a 7, so this is going to be our 7. The purpose, at least in the past, of having a +1 or the forward in this position was that they could hit the line out to create the maul much more effectively than a 9 could. Now, a little law part here is that you can only have one receiver, so you can't have a forward and a scrum half. You have to choose which one you have. So in this situation, it's going to be a maul. We win the maul, our +1 hits really quickly, and then they drive towards the line. You could see obviously how this would be less effective if we were using a scrum half in this position. By putting the forward there, you then create other options, because instinctively the opposition will think that you're going to be mauling it, but actually you could do something different. So let's have a look at this example. So in this case, this is quite a common setup. So in fact, this is what France do often, with Dupont in the front of the lineout. So the 9 here is at the front of the lineout. This will now make it a 7-man lineout. We would call this a 7+1. So we have 7 in the lineout, we have 1 outside, so it's 7+1. If there was a 9 in this position and there was 7 in the lineout, we'd just call that a 7-man lineout. So in this position, we're going to see the 9 and the +1 switch. So remember what I said earlier, you only allow one receiver. That's true, but as soon as the ball has left the hooker's hands, you can do what you want. So in this situation, the hooker throws in, the 9 swings out to be that receiver position, the +1 swings to the back of the line out, and you create this mismatch by running the 9 at the back of the line out, getting the +1 going free, and potentially running them at a weak fly half here who perhaps doesn't want to be in position to tackle. Now, there might be a few Ireland fans who are a little bit nervous at that idea for this weekend. So here, we're actually going to take our 9 and put them in the backfield. So we've gone back to this. This is 6-man lying out +1. So it's a 6+1. And we've got our 9 and we've got a 12 in the midfield here. Obviously, we've got the rest of the backs out wide. So the ball gets thrown in, bring it at the front. We now create a fake maul. So we hope to try and draw those defenders in. But then the +1 peels and hits our 9 out the back. Obviously, we can then attack wide. This is quite common. So actually England have used this with Ben Earl. They used it with Billy Vunipola a few years ago. Ireland do this with Josh van der Fleer. Wales have done it with Justin Tipuric. Done it sometimes with Tommy Lefel. So these are guys who can make this pass. It's not a particularly difficult pass for the modern forward. So in that case, you lose the scrum half from the line out. So you might think you'll get less good ball, but actually the modern forwards can make this pass, and so it opens up all these options. Here we're going to watch what Connacht do. So just as this gets set up, notice here that we have 5 in the lineout and we have a +1. In this case, it's Connacht's number 7. So a 5+1. The ball goes up at the back, and this is exactly what we saw in the first example. So the 7 hits the maul and drives it forward. So this is a job that we couldn't really see with a 9. In this case, they don't really get particularly far forward, but that's much more effective than tying your 9 up there. And crucially, as we can see, the 9 steps in, and then they can box kick it or they can pass it out wide. Options that you don't really have, obviously, if that 9 is tied into the maul. Now, a quick point on this from a legal perspective, or I guess a law perspective, not quite legal, is that the 9 can only come in when the player's off the mark. So that means that once the maul is created, the maul needs to move, normally forwards, but potentially backwards, and then it can be off the mark, and then people can come in. So the 9 can come in, but also perhaps other forwards who might be out wide could come and hit the maul and drive it forwards. Okay, but you can't do that until it's moved off the mark. So when it's on the mark, when it's just getting established, it's only the people who are in the line out who can be involved. Or, of course, those +1s, which is why it's so important. Let's look at this example now. This is the Ospreys. So we are going to see something similar to what France do here. We're going to see the 9 at the front of the line out. So expect to see this with Dupont, and we've got a +1. So here we've got a 6 +1. So the ball comes in. Our 9 runs around the back. It's 1 again at the back of the line out. The +1 looks like he's going to get involved and hit this maul, but instead he takes the ball, runs wide, pops it to the 9, and then the Ospreys make yardage through the middle here. So again, very simple. 9 at the front of the line out, +1, and they just pivot around to create that space to attack out wide. Okay, now let's see this from Poe, and we're going to see again exactly the same thing, but no 9 in the line out this time. Okay, so again, we can count up the numbers when we flip to this back. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 in the line, and then the +1 there. You can also see here, and this is one of the great benefits of the +1, Perpignan, who are in the yellow, have got the 2 defenders at the front of the maul. So you need to have 2 defenders in the line out, but they can be normally one at the front, one at the back. But if you're expecting a maul, you might have them both tied to the front. But in this case, obviously that maul isn't going to be coming because the +1 here is a decoy. And you can see it's a fake maul, tie everyone in, and then run it out the back. So you create this crash ball, and you're running exactly into the space where actually Perpignan have vacated because they've tried to defend that maul. So one last example here, and we're going to be looking at Cardiff against Zebra. So we can't quite see it from this angle, but just trust me that this is a +1 line out. But we're going to see something very different. We're going to see them wing it at the back, but look at the Cardiff players at the front of this line out. You'd expect them to be getting on their bike to create the maul here, but they're not, and you'll see why in a second, because it's thrown to the front. So this is a switch drive, so they went at the back, throw it to the front. Now, +1 is not going to be at the back, he's going to be at the front, and he's going to smash into this maul and drive them forward and eventually over the line. So in this situation, it's been a great bit of decoy, and Cardiff actually do this a lot, where they were at the back, you expect the maul, and so you flood to the back to defend it, but actually the maul's coming to the front, and the +1 is there to add that heft and a bit of dynamism to get it over the line. So we are absolutely going to see this on Saturday, on Sunday, on club games, on Friday night, potentially lower than the leagues as well. I'm sure there are a lot of you out there watching who already do this in your club, but the +1 is great because it started off as a solution to a particular problem, which is how do we get the maul going quicker. And attack coaches, line-out coaches have realised that actually there's more you can use it for. So look out for the +1, and if you're not already using it, have a think about starting using it as well. Thank you.